This feast day, January 1st, has had it's been renamed and renamed. It used to be the Feast of the Circumcision, right? Because and then it became, I think it was recent, Pope Paul VI in the late 60s named it for the Solemnity of the Blessed Virgin Mary, the Mother of God. And some friends were talking about how it never kind of hooks with people. It's not like Christmas, right? That everybody knows what that day is, or even All Saints. I mean, we know that it's the day for All Saints. This is kind of one of those orphan holy days, I think. But I think there's a lot of blessings in celebrating on this day. The day of the calendar year, not the day of the church year, but the calendar year. And focusing on the prime disciple, Mary, who was Jesus' prime disciple. It was not only that she had bore him in her womb and she raised him to adulthood, but we know from the little that Scripture tells us that she accompanied him in parts of his mission. She was there, of course, when he died, and she was there when he appeared in the resurrection. She remained an example to us of complete openness to him. And you can see, even whenever they talk, Luke in particular is the one that's attentive. He says, you remember last Sunday, Jesus in the temple. He said, well, she's reflected on in her heart. And again, here, earlier in Luke, we're kind of out of order, so to speak, right when the shepherds come. Where she's reflecting what the shepherds have to say. I think this is a traditional time when people make resolutions. I was at a dinner last night, had resolutions that everyone would keep, gain more weight, read less, watch more TV, all those kinds of things, spend more time on the computer. But seriously, I think there is the mystery of the Incarnation is that the Lord is incarnate in us. And what that means is that in everything you and I do, we can be a living testimony to the presence of Christ. So it's not necessarily in the grand resolutions, although I think that's a good idea, but it is in the way we live our lives. And since this is a traditional time to take stock of what the past year was and what this year, 2013, might bring, why don't we personalize it when we're doing that reflection? And by that I mean, why don't we ask what the Lord can do in us this year? I know we all have many things perhaps we want to accomplish, but what can the Lord do in us this year? How can He use us as an instrument of salvation? We see clearly that He was able to use shepherds. He was able to use Mary. He was able eventually to use disciples, fishermen, even tax collectors. He was able to use those who had been sick and were healed. He was able to use those who were hungry and were fed. He was able to use those who had been sinners and were forgiven. And He can use us. It's His intention to use me and you as a living testimony. And how will that happen? It'll happen if we allow the mystery of God's grace to work in us. And I think if we could build in a little bit of an awe. When I was a child, there was the sisters that taught, I went to a Catholic school, said that we should make a daily offering. And I think it's a good discipline. That is to say, an offering of some sort, where we offer what's coming in our day, who will meet that day meet that day in recreation, etc. And the other discipline that was always recommended is that at the end of the day, we kind of recollect what God did in our life that day. And of course, if we're honest, there'd be many blessings, right? In any day, but there might be very small blessings, of course. But then there might also be opportunities that God did indeed use us. And we could do thanksgiving in a small way. We were able to forgive. We were able to mentor someone. We were able to be polite when we didn't feel like it. Some small things. There would also be at the end of the day, or a recollection, times when we realized we didn't shine faith. We weren't a testament. So, perhaps, as the sisters recommended it to me when I was a child, I recommend it to you in some way, appropriate to your life. Some kind of offering of each day, and some kind of recollection of each day. Seeing that it's in the fabric of our daily life where our salvation is worked out. Luke always gives us these clues. He said, all who heard it, when the shepherds came, were amazed by what had been told them by the shepherds. And Mary kept all these things, reflecting on them in her heart. The shepherds praised, returned, glorifying and praising God. And Mary continued reflecting in her hearts. So let's maybe a resolution along with gaining weight, watching more TV. We might be able to